let's put it this way. If you hire somebody at $20 an hour and they take twice as long as someone else to do the job, didn't you just hire them at $40 an hour?
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, my friends, welcome to the Appraiser Coach Podcast once again. And my name is Dustin Harris. I am your host. We're going to be talking today about a mantra that my mastermind students hear from me often. Hi, guys. One thing that I'm going to talk about particular is just one side of that mantra. It's kind of a two-sided mantra. I'll get to that in just a moment. First, I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored by A La Mode. A La Mode, of course, is my software of choice when it comes to appraisal writing, and it should be yours as well. Go to alamode.com for more information. OREP is my E&O of choice. You do have a choice, folks. And OREP is my E&O of choice because they are the best. Check them out by going to orep.org. That's O-R-E-P, orep.org. All right, folks, it is a mantra that I think I first learned it from Dan Kennedy. Those of you who are students of Dan Kennedy might chuckle a little bit. He's quite a colorful character. But kind of old school, and that's kind of one of the reasons I actually like him. But he was the individual who first taught me, if you will. I've never met him personally, but taught me through his books and writings and publications about info marketing and about what it is to get ourselves out there and market ourselves. But he's also very good with human resources and procedures and that kind of thing. But one of the things that Dan, and by the way, I don't think this was unique to Dan, but he picked up on this mantra. I think this mantra has been around for years, but it's the first time I ever heard it. And I have repeated it multiple times as I have taught and coached individuals on how to work with other people. The mantra is this, folks. It is to hire slow, fire fast. And of course, it's related specifically to the individuals that you might have working for you. For example, as a, whether they be a contractor or an employee-employer relationship, the idea is to kind of fly in the face of what we normally do. So let's break it down just a little bit, talk about what is quote unquote normal. Most individuals will wait until the witching hour before they will pull the trigger on hiring someone. The idea is that it costs so much, and I want to focus on that word for just a second, that it costs so much, it's expensive, right, to hire people. And let's give credit where credit is due, right? It is expensive. Small businesses live and die by the bottom line. Well, all businesses do, but small businesses, the small things really do affect them, and the big things affect them even larger. In other words, there is not as much flexibility with a small business as there would be, with a business like Walmart. Walmart can screw up pretty big and still be able to recover. Mom and pop may not be able to do so, and so the philosophy, and it's not even really a philosophy as much as it's just human nature, is that we wait until the last minute to hire someone because we don't want the extra quote unquote cost that comes involved with the payroll, and rightfully so. Running a business is expensive, and the most expensive bottom line on that profit loss statement, on the loss side for most small businesses, is the payroll. Right? Whether that be yourself or if you are so inclined to hire other people, it's expensive. Now, I look at it differently, and that's why I paused on the word cost. To me, it's not a cost. It's an investment in you and your company and the individual that you're hiring and your future. But many people, many small business owners see it differently, and it's easy to see it differently because, frankly, naturally, we're going to resist that change. We're going to resist that risk of what if I hire somebody and they don't work out? What if I hire someone and they torpedo my business? What if I hire someone and I don't have enough business to pay their paycheck? Okay. Now, I could spend a whole episode and have on that topic. That's not the topic for today. My encouragement as a coach is often to hire slowly so that you take the time to go through the process, that you don't wait until you just cannot hardly breathe. I have so many orders coming in. I cannot keep up. I'm turning down orders. I'm making people angry. I'm turning reports in late. I've got to have some help. And so they look around, and the first person that comes into their purview, they rope them into working for them in their appraisal office. Folks, that is not the way to hire. And that's why we say hire slowly. And we're not talking about procrastination. When we talk about hiring slowly, we're not talking about procrastinate until the bitter end. It's take the time to follow the process. Folks, I have done multiple classes, courses, they're on my website, theappraisercoach.com, on how to hire people properly, from how to put out a proper ad, to how to vet the resumes that come through, to how to filter out the fluff, to get down to the cream of the crop, to look at personality profiles and how to interview and the questions that you want to ask in the interview. It is a process, and rightfully so. Because it's such a huge investment in you and your business, you're going to want to take the time to go through the process that is required to be the employer that you want to the employees that you want. Okay, so that's why we say hire slow. Now, let's take the other side of that hire slow, fire fast mantra, the fire fast mantra, right? This is another mistake that I see individuals make frequently, consistently. Okay. And I personally will say I've done the same thing. Okay. Many times. And even though I'm a coach, and even though I'm a mentor, and even though I'm supposed to be an example, right? It still is a challenge, folks, to follow the mantra of firing fast. What does fire fast mean? It means when it's not working out, get rid of that person and move on. Okay, that in a nutshell, that's what that side of the mantra means. Well, here's what happens. Human nature, again, comes into play. We're constantly dealing with that battle, that uphill battle of human nature. And human nature will say that if somebody is not working out, that we hold on because it might just work out eventually. I've put so much time, effort, and yes, money into this John Doe that I hired. And John Doe is turning out to be a John Dud. But maybe, just maybe, if I put a little bit more effort and a little bit more patience and a little bit more training, that will turn around. And folks, I can tell you that does happen once in a while. Okay. But it's much like the sunken cost syndrome that you've heard me talk about before, that when you're at the roulette table and you've already lost $1,000, you've got $200 left in your pocket. You might as well keep going because maybe just maybe you might win it back, right? The sunken cost syndrome is I've already gone this far. I might as well keep going because, definition of insanity, right? Keep doing the same thing and maybe you'll get a different outcome. Well, again, to give credit where credit is due, it does sometimes turn around. I will say this publicly. My best VA, okay, my best virtual assistant that I hired over a decade ago, almost didn't make it through the first 3 months. Okay. I struggled knowing if she was going to cut the mustard, and yet she turned out to be absolutely incredible. And I kept her for many, many, many years. So it does happen. And that's what keeps us going back to the what if, that when we feel in our gut that it's time to fire somebody, that, well, maybe, just maybe, it will work out, right? So we've gone through the process of finding a trainee. We've gone through the process of vetting that trainee. And now we've spent hundreds of hours in the field, in the car, in front of the computer, training this individual. And your gut just says, she doesn't have what it takes. She's not going to make it. It's just not working out. And you keep telling yourself, yeah, but, I've got all this investment into her. I think that maybe if I just work a little bit harder, that she will work out. And folks, I can tell you that that is the exception and not the rule. When we get back from the sponsorship, I want to tell you a true story, a success story, and hope it is an encouragement to those of you who might be struggling with an individual who, I guess, needs to be let go. First, of course, I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company called A La Mode. Just dealt with A La Mode this morning, and they're such a joy to work with. Seriously, they have the best customer service out there. Now, it's software, and software sometimes gets buggy because not so much the software, but the computer that you're on or the other software that you're trying to integrate with. It's a complicated system, and thus they need tech support. And folks, I'll tell you that when I call A La Mode, I am always pleasantly pleased with what they give me in return. Alamode.com or 800 Alamode. OREP Insurance is my E&O of choice, and it's because I've looked and honestly been involved in some of the others, not all of them, right? There's a lot of different insurance companies out there, but I've been with the top competitors of OREP, and I will tell you this, folks, there ain't no competition out there. OREP is the E&O of choice for me, and it should be for you. The support that they give, because they understand you, the appraiser, is top notch. Find out more by going to their website at orep.org. That's OREP.org. Welcome back to the Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. We're talking today about the mantra to hire slow, fire fast, and spent the first part of the podcast talking about what that means, right? Take the time to hire correctly, right? Maybe the mantra should be hire correctly, fire quickly. I don't know. But take the time to hire correctly, meaning jump through all of the long and tedious hoops that it takes. Call references. That's one of the biggest missed opportunities, folks. I have had situations where I had been down to the final decision and then picked up the phone to call a couple of references for previous employers. And after those phone calls said, nope, not going down that road, not going to not learn from the mistakes of others, right? So hire slowly means to hire correctly, go through the process. Well, on the other side of that mantra is hire or fire, rather, fire quickly. Now, it's difficult to fire quickly because you want it to work out. You think that if you hold out a little bit longer, that it will work out. And folks, I'm telling you, it is very rare that dog will appear, because most of the time what happens is your gut is right. Now, there's science behind that, right? Sometimes when people say trust your gut, you think, well, that's kind of hokey. Folks, read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, and I promise you, you will come away with a different feeling about your gut and what your gut can tell you and the science behind how the gut is usually right? That gut feeling, if you will, that notion, that hair on the back of your neck that sticks up is usually, not always, but usually correct. So in the process of hiring slowly, we understand what that means. In the process of hiring quickly, let me share, if I may, an experience I had just this morning. It brought up the topic, and I wanted to talk about it today. Got on the phone this morning with Dylan. I will not use his full name to protect his innocence. And had a very brief conversation with Dylan, and it went like this. Dylan, hi, how are you? Good. Do you want me to come in today? Dylan, I think we are going to go a different direction. We have tried this out. It doesn't seem to be a good fit for you. And so if you'll turn in your final hours, I will get you paid this week, and I wish you the best. Now, at this point in the conversation, you would expect that Dylan would argue or justify or, hey, what's wrong? Or can I do any better? And Dylan's response was, okay, sounds good. That was it. It was the easiest firing I have ever done. Now, to Dylan's credit, okay, he had worked a total, right? This would be his first and only paycheck. And he worked a total in the last 2 weeks of 79 hours. Okay. Not even a full time, not even 80 hours, not even 40 hours a week. He had worked 79 hours, folks. That's maybe a record. No, maybe not. I actually fired somebody, I think, in the first 2 hours that they were working for me one time. It was very clear up front this was not going to work out. We are in a right to work state. I don't need to give a reason. I had a reason ready, and not that I would suggest that you even give that to people, because it just gives them ammunition to argue with you. But it went very, very quickly, and it went very, very easily. And here's the point, folks. You will find that when you fire somebody, often, not all the time, but often, they see it coming before it's coming. Okay. They see it on the horizon before it actually is, before it transpires. I have had situations where I have fired somebody and they have said something similar to, "I'm surprised you kept me so long." Literally, they have said similar things to that, meaning they kind of know what's going on before it needs to happen. So the idea that when you're firing quickly, that you're doing them a disfavor or you a disfavor, folks, get that out of your head. Okay. Let me tell you just briefly about Dylan. Okay. I would just say this much. Dylan took about twice as long to do any task that I gave him. Often I would see him dilly-dallying around. I would come around the corner and just kind of watch from afar when he didn't know I was there, and just, he would be doing whatever, staring off into space. Thankfully, he wasn't using his phone. His phone was broken, but literally leaning on shovels, if you will. I should say literally, figuratively leaning on shovels. And it just, let's put it this way: if you hire somebody at $20 an hour, and they take twice as long as someone else to do the job, didn't you just hire them at $40 an hour? I mean, do the math. And that was the situation with Dylan, and I think he understood it. Just so you know, we had many, many talks and many, many encouragements and many, many, "Hey, I really need you to work faster. Hey, I really just need you to figure that out without involving me." Those conversations happened a lot over the last 2 weeks. Okay. So it wasn't like I just threw him in and then said, "Well, it's not going to work out." I felt like I had done my job. I had done my part, and he had not done his. Folks, if you are dealing with an individual, or in the future deal with an individual to whom it is obvious that things won't work out very well, my encouragement, folks, is that you take the time, the brief time it takes, to let them go. Let them free. If they return, they really do love. No, let them go, right? Free them from the cage. I promise you, it will be better for you. It will be better for them. Thank you for joining me today, folks. I do hope that you'll join us over at the All-Star Team, where we talk about these kinds of things all the time to make you a better business owner. It is All-Star Team. You can find it at theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.